Good morning, everybody. Actually, it's even afternoon for me, and it's evening for
It is.
Leonie Bischoff in Brussels, right?
That's right.
Yeah. Well, one of I discovered your work after CXC, not this last year, but way back in 2024, and I fell in love. Like Anaïs Nin and The Great Turkey Walk are both fantastic, but then I started doing something that I'd never done before, which is like really tracking down untranslated things that I can't read the words because I love your art style. I love how you adapt to your works. Your expressive storytelling is just fantastic. So I'm so happy to get to talk to you about it. So
Thank
how
you
are
so
you?
much. I'm super happy to be here talking with you. We had such a nice conversation at that very loud
Yep.
night.
Yep. We,
Uh,
we, we we met at karaoke at Cartoon Crossroads
yeah.
and it somehow had a good conversation even with the karaoke going on around us. But like that's Saturday night and you flew out early Sunday afternoon and had a panel right before that. So that was really the only conversation we got to have.
But thanks to you, we
So
stayed in touch, and now I'm glad to
exactly.
be
I do
able.
my best.
Yeah.
I worried for a minute though, because you got all busy and I assumed that you were busy. And I'm like, am I annoying her? Did she decide that I'm just some bum that is like sending her too many emails and I'm supposed to take the message, just stop?
No, no, I know that I have a bad tendency of being quickly overwhelmed. I do work a lot, but also I'm not the
Yeah.
best at planning and managing my time. So for a
I
time,
know no
it was
cartoonists
too
like that.
much. No, well, I don't know.
I
Sometimes
know no
our
cartoonists
brain,
like
yeah,
that.
you cannot have both.
Dripping sarcasm.
I know.
We're an audio podcast, so I had to make certain the listeners knew. Dripping
Yeah,
sarcasm.
Jesus. Yeah. No, I'm glad you
Uh,
did. I'm glad you
yeah.
didn't get discouraged by
Uh, uh,
my weeks of delay before answering emails. And
no,
yeah, it's just
no.
how I
Well,
work.
among other things, I'd wind up circling back to your work or something and go, oh, I'm just going to shoot her a message, see what happens. She hasn't told me to
Glad
go
you did.
away yet. I'm autistic. I'm allowed to say I just don't know.
Yeah, and I'm getting better at actually telling people to go away when I really don't want to talk to them. So
Right.
yeah, here we
I mean,
are.
which is also a very valuable tool to have because,
Yes, yes,
like, sometimes the people that you want to go away are just like rude and aggressive and whatnot and like they do know that you're trying to tell them to go away and they don't care, but sometimes they're people like me who honestly just don't read any of the subtext.
yeah. And I'm much more aware than before about the many ways people's minds work. And so
Right.
and also, I'm much more comfortable now at setting my own boundaries, especially professionally.
It's
So, yeah,
hard though, isn't it?
it's very hard, especially when you are in a field like comic books where you're supposed to want exposure. You're supposed to want people to talk about you, to offer you job, offer you platforms to show your work and talk about it. And somehow you feel like you can't say no to an opportunity like that.
Right.
And it's hard to know when it's yeah, when you need to take this opportunity, when you feel like it, or when you just feel the pressure to do it. And I've been doing this work for more than 15 years now. And so I'm learning. But I
Yeah.
would say that the 10 first years, I would just accept anything anyone would propose to me professionally and burn
Yeah.
myself out trying to do everything and answer to everyone. Yeah.
No, I'm so happy that you've both got into a place professionally where you can do that because that's always
Yes.
the balance too. Like
Mhm.
starving
Yeah.
artist definitely applies to lots of cartoonists.
Absolutely.
I
I've
was
been
just
there.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
was just talking to Paul Pope and he was telling us about his days living in a lamp factory in Montreal.
Oh, wow. And I mean, he's Paul Pope.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Now he's Paul
Yeah.
Pope, but in
Yeah.
1996,
Yeah.
97, he wasn't Paul Pope yet.
Sure.
Um, but so yeah. I actually since I know that I'll get deep into your books, I want to ask you about something that I came across a while ago that is just
Mhm.
among the coolest things I have ever seen. And I wish so much that there was something like this in America. Um, Tell me about the comic book trail and
The
your
comic book trail?
yeah,
I'm not sure. I know what you're
I am
referring.
look, I don't know if it's a bad translation, but you drew or not drew, painted like a house
Oh yeah,
in
yeah, yeah.
Brussels
Absolutely.
that
Okay,
it
I
says the
understand
latest
now.
mural
Okay,
and the comic book trail of Brussels.
absolutely. I had never heard how they would have translated that.
Okay.
Yes, yes, it is a thing in Brussels. It was originally only drawings of famous classic Belgian characters.
Right,
And there's a lot of weird architecture stuff in Brussels. Houses have been taken down, nothing has been rebuilt. So there's a lot of blind walls, no windows, no nothing. And so the city has decided to ask artists, comic book artists, to make drawings to be painted on these walls. And I've had the chance to have one of my drawings made especially for this opportunity. They have changed a little bit the formula since the origin. I think they started it in the 1990s, I guess,
okay,
but taking drawings from comic books from way back, like Tintin, all the classics. But now they prefer to ask the contemporary artists to talk with the people who live in the neighborhood where the wall is going to be painted and to
right,
try to find topics or themes that the people would like to see every day because they are the one who are going to walk there. And
right,
so with the people who came to meet me and talk, the main theme that was coming up was nature, because there are not a lot of trees, not a lot of green spaces in Brussels, and the weather is famously very gray, and the sky is very low. So I chose to picture girls and women of different physical, very different from each other physically, who
yeah,
are
I'm looking at it
building.
right now. It's
Oh, nice!
beautiful. Yeah.
They are building a wood tree house and
Double decker even.
painting. Yeah, yeah.
I mean this
I
this
would
is a
love to.
serious tree house.
Yes, some of them are very skilled with building
Yeah,
tree houses.
yeah,
Other planting plants in the ground. Some there's one that's reading. All a lot of topics that the people who lived in this neighborhood wanted to see represented. And another important factor for me was to have women represented in public spaces because
right,
in Brussels it's still kind of a problem of women are going in the street from one point to another point from point A to point B, and they never stay long in the street because some men will harass them, some men will make them feel uncomfortable, whereas men are allowed to just chill in the street, sit on walls, talk among themselves, and it's really something that I would like to see changing. And I would like to see more women practicing sports where there are urban gyms and things like
right.
that. So it was important for me to have a group of women having a good time together in the street.
There are days when I wish that there was some way that the men that make women uncomfortable could be made to feel that
Yes,
discomfort, and I just don't
yes.
know what it is.
That kind of revenge fantasy is very
Right,
strong.
right.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know,
If
how do
you could
you
just understand, yeah,
because they're all like, oh well,
yeah,
I'm
it's
not
not
doing
that
any. I
bad.
was like,
Yeah.
yeah, no, but like you
The thing
are.
is, it's also the fact that it's every day at
Right,
some
right.
degree,
It's a
some level.
cumulative thing.
Yes, yes,
You might think your whistle no big deal. But your
Yeah.
whistle plus his whistle plus his whistle plus
Is
his
this,
whistle
yes,
plus the
yeah.
whistle you're going to use tomorrow and the whistle he's going to do tomorrow and
Yes, yes, it's cumulative micro traumas or micro aggressions
this
that
is
get
one of the beauties though
so hard.
of noise canceling headphones. Noise canceling
Yes,
headphones are beautiful
yes, yes.
things.
But yeah,
I mean,
I'm
I'm
not
not
sure about
actually
that
recommending that strictly to
yes,
women and whatnot. I was thinking
because
more of
it
myself and my sensory overload
yeah, yeah,
issues because I'm
which
autistic
is
and I work in a big high school and man, do I put the noise
oh,
canceling headphones on in the high school because or in the like during passing period
yes,
when there's like thousands of 14 to 18-year olds all around me.
a nightmare. Yeah, I'm very sensitive to noise also, and I do
Yeah.
love my noise canceling headphones. But when I'm in the streets, in the public transport, I need to be aware of what's going
Yep.
on. It's a
Yes.
danger prevention. I don't feel safe. I feel even less safe if I can't hear what's happening around me. So I tend to
Have
have always one that's a little bit
always went off.
my
Yeah.
ear so I can hear what's happening, what's being said.
Have you ever seen? I've got a couple of pairs that have like what's called a pass-through mode, where
Ah,
it
I don't know
muffles
that.
things a little bit, but you can hear what's going on around you, but you're still also putting that outward message, I can't hear you.
Yes, that's very good. Yeah. I love the visual signal.
Because that's one of the things I like about the big headphones rather than
Yeah.
just the little
Yeah, but you
earbuds
want
is
to
it's
be,
like
yeah,
the big ones just shout at you. Don't talk to me.
I don't want to talk. Yeah. And by the way, it's a code that we use at the studio where I work because there are nine of us all
Mhm.
working on comic books, and some of us are more talkative than the others. And the universal signal is if I have my headphones on, I don't want to be disturbed. Unless there's an emergency, don't come talk to me. You can talk to me when I take them off, come to the kitchen to have a glass of water or something. And
I,
it works very well. It's a visual reminder that no, this person is focused on her work. Let's not bother her. So yeah.
I I heard about like an autistic conference that was put on that they did something that I so wish that I could convince some Comic Cons to start doing, which is everybody was given three badges.
Yeah.
One that was green. If you had your green badge on, it meant please talk to me.
Oh,
And
that's
for that matter, it even specifically meant I might be too shy to talk to you, but that
oh,
doesn't mean you
that's
shouldn't talk to me.
oh, that's sweet.
If they had their yellow badge on, it meant don't talk to me unless you know me.
Okay, great.
And if they had their red badge on, it meant please don't talk to me.
That's amazing. Yeah, I do love this
So
thing.
they were able to just have this visual representation
Yeah.
for everybody.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah.
And I'm like, given the number of neurodiverse people I know in
Mm,
comics, I mean, seriously,
yeah.
like I
Oh,
sometimes
yeah.
laugh that a Comic Con is really, it's like the one social thing that all neurodiverse people go and share together.
I do. The more I get aware about neurodiversity, the more I start to think about all the people I know and love in the comics books industry. And I'm like, every one of us has something or other. Yeah.
Well, I mean, more and more, and I haven't seen any scientists willing to put the numbers quite this large yet, but more and more, I think that neurotypical people are only actually about 40% of the population. And the
Yeah.
reason that neurodiversity, autism spectrum, whatnot is looked at as, oh my God, is that it's huge. It's 60% of us. It's just that like
Yeah.
those neurotypical people fall into two categories, thinking words, thinking pictures, but they all think the same. Their brains are all wired the same. We fall into like a billion categories.
Yeah. Yeah. And a lot of us have been very early to mask. And so they
Right,
don't
right.
realize, most of us don't realize, like, I think I'm some kind of ADHD, something. I don't have a diagnostic,
Yeah,
but
I got my
I
autism
never had an idea about that until
yeah,
like 5 years ago, because I just
yeah,
thought I was a bit slow and a bit weird. So what?
right.
Yeah.
Well, and if you can get away with being a bit
Yeah.
slow and a bit weird, that it doesn't matter. I mean, and that's part of the thing is like it would be great if we could get rid of the stigma of the
Yes.
diagnosis because like it really just has to, I mean, I finally got my autism diagnosis last year.
Yeah.
Uh, and part of the reason I didn't get it until last year was that like the DSM didn't change in such a way that I would be considered autistic until I was in my 30s, but they don't really test adults, they only test kids. So when I was young under the DSM-3, I could talk, so I wasn't autistic. When I was in
Yeah.
high school under the DSM-4, I was smart, so I wasn't autistic.
Okay. Wow.
But the
Yeah.
DSM-5 was the first one that actually had autistic people working
Mm.
on. And one of the things that they pushed hard for is like, we can't penalize people for masking.
Yeah. Yeah.
Masking is really tiring,
Yes. Yes.
and one of the reasons that I figured it out is like I had a health thing in January where I spent like a whole day in the ER, in part because almost every doctor wanted to treat me like a horse, even though none of the specific, like the outward symptoms were saying one thing, but none
Yes.
of the tests that they were showing were actually backing that
Coherence.
up. But
Yeah.
they didn't
Yeah.
want to go away from it because this is what the
Uh,
when if they'd known I was autistic, they could have started with, okay, he's a zebra, not a horse.
yes. I understand that. Yeah.
Because what they and I don't blame them for doing some tests out of the gate because they thought I was having a stroke.
Mm,
As it
mm.
turns out, it was like about the opposite of stroke. My mind was going like 10,000 miles an hour, and I just couldn't get the words out
Okay. Okay.
at um, which the best way to describe it is actually autistic burnout,
Okay.
which I
Yeah.
didn't even know was a thing until my wife started doing research after this really
Wow.
scary day, because
Yeah.
none of the doctors came anywhere near that because it
They have
wasn't
no.
on their menu of things to look at.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't blame them because, like,
No. Mental
medicine is
health.
really complicated and really hard.
There's so much research needed yet. Yeah, for
But that's
sure.
why, like, detailed medical records also matter because, like, when you can check this off or check that,
Hmm. Hmm.
it changes what you think of next.
Sure.
Um, but enough about
But
me. Let's
let's
talk
circle
about,
back
uh,
to
uh,
come.
yeah, I'm going to bring it back to, well, actually, I'll let you pick. Do you want to go kids or adults first? I got them both in front of me.
I would say let's go with Anaïs first because
Let's do it.
it's still my
Start.
favorite.
Oh, it's so good, and I have so many things to say and ask, but I always like to start with um give me the front counter pitch. You're working at a comic shop or a bookstore, and somebody comes in and you think they'd like this book. How do you sell it to them?
That's a good question. I'm not used to selling books.
I mean,
Um,
it's essentially also the elevator pitch. How
yeah,
you can cheat and say, how'd you pitch it to your publisher?
yeah. Well, by talking about the fact that it's a book about a woman who, despite being born almost a century ago, through her life has explored many, many of the themes that we find very relevant today, like the voices of people who are not the majority,
Right,
um, and exploring other forms of relationships. So she was a woman who was very, how would I say that? She was burning very, very bright inside,
right,
but she was not showing it.
right.
And she needed to find a way to show it artistically and personally. And she was born in a very Catholic household. She was, I'm sorry, this is not an elevator pitch. I'm taking way too much time already.
No, you're doing fine. That's why I say front counter pitch. Front counter
Yeah,
pitch, you're allowed to go as long as you need to.
yeah, yeah. Um, for me, what matters the most is that fire that burns in her and that she never lets get extinguished. She has suffered a lot of trauma in her childhood. She has suffered from mental health issues, but fundamentally, she's someone who loves to love and who loves to live with passion. And so she creates her life to look and feel like a romance or like a movie or like a theater piece. And she's someone who's very inventive. And some have said that she was a liar, a monstrous liar, and that nothing she ever wrote or said was true. And she did love to tell stories about her life and to make up stories even before the event happened. She would plan the date she was going on. She would plan how she would dress in a certain way. She was really a creatrix
Right.
in um, every second of her days. And that's something that I find fascinating and must have been exhausting, but
Yeah.
I admire
I,
her a lot, and she has
well,
inspired.
I mean, she strikes me as a little neurodivergent, so
Oh,
it might have
I'm
actually
sure.
been less exhausting than it might have been because she was not holding it in.
Yeah,
She just let
yeah.
herself go.
I think she had
Um,
been holding it in for
oh yes, for
the
her
first
childhood.
part of her life, the
Yeah.
childhood,
Yeah,
where,
definitely before she got
yeah,
married, she was completely
yeah,
holding it in. We don't see as
yeah,
much of that in the book, but we can see the flashback that it's like
yeah,
we can
yeah,
see each moment where she's like, "But why? Why am I
yeah,
deciding that I should or shouldn't do this?"
yeah.
um, I mean,
She,
so you kind of answered my first big question, which is what attracted you to Anaïs. So I'll modify it a little bit. When did you discover her work? How did she
I,
come across your?
it happened in several pivotal moments, I would say. First, I was very young. I was babysitting, and I don't know if you're aware of her books, Delta Venus and the Little Birds. They are,
I mean, I'm aware of them, but I haven't read them.
yeah. So that's what they would call pornography at the time. It's short pieces that contain very disturbing topics of like pedophilia, incest, but very explicit and well written because she could very well write.
Right.
And those works were, it was commission work that she did for an anonymous, very rich man. Originally, it was Henry Miller who had this job, and at some point he got tired of it, and so he gave it to Anais. And she would write stories, very explicit, very disturbing, and it would pay very well. And those books are still today the most famous of her work when they are not authentic at all to her. So I'm very frustrated that they are the most well known. And as the most well known, they are the most well distributed. So it was my first encounter with her work. And I was very shocked and very intrigued, but also very scared that the parents that I was babysitting for would come back. So I put it back in the bookshelf, and but the name got stuck in my mind. And a few
Yeah.
years later, when I was a student, I was studying comic books in Brussels. I found a few of the diaries books, and I remembered the name, and there was a picture of her on the cover, and I was very intrigued. So I just picked them up, and that's when I really fell in love with her because those diaries were of the time period of which I speak in my comic books. It's the late 1920s, and she's about 26, 27 years old. She's
Sounds
very
right.
frustrated with her writing, with her creativity. She's recently married, she's recently moved to Paris, and she's lost. She's lost and she's
Right.
unhappy, and her marriage is not going as well as she hoped. They are very not very sexually compatible. her husband and her. And so there's a lot of frustration in her. And I was kind of the same point in my life at that time, very frustrated with my creativity, um, very frustrated also with my relationship with men and with male artists in general. And so I felt like I had found kind of a soulmate from a
Okay.
century ago. And also, she was very brave, much braver than me, in daring to face her own desires. I think I did not dare at that time to look at my own desire, and she really helped me to accept and to even cherish my own impulses and even my frustrations, and to see them as more like an indication that something was not right for me and that I needed to look for something else. So I don't want to paint her as a model to be followed because she definitely wasn't that. And
Right.
she is full of contradictions and she was not necessarily happy. But for me, she was really like a switch or what do you call that? A spark to
Yeah. I mean,
start something new.
what what I definitely took away from the book, from her, from your portrayal of her, um, was, the message isn't to do what she does as much as to do it for the reasons she does it, if that
Yes,
makes
yes,
sense.
I agree with that.
Because the what I appreciated so much is like, um, she's looking at really, what's the word I'm looking for? Societally frowned upon things, adultery, or even just women enjoying sex rather than just
Mhm.
being there.
Yeah.
Because there, I mean, there's that scene later where like once she's learned, she flips it around with Hugh and
Yeah.
she's like, let's try it this way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where she takes ownership for, okay, I love this man, and I also love that aspect is like, wait a minute,
Yes.
I love this man. I'm not satisfied. It's not his fault.
Mm-hmm.
Because like that's another place that you see so many people get caught up and you see so many
Yes.
relationships bogged down, or because she's also, it's not my fault. It's not
Mm-hmm.
I've done something wrong. I just haven't found what I need.
Yeah.
She spends no time blaming people, at least in this portion that, I mean, and for that matter, when we see her mother, sometimes you see that the mirror of that. Everything is your father's fault. Everything, you
Yeah.
know.
Her parents were both very negative figures in her life, even
Right.
though she was fascinated with her father.
Right.
When you read her childhood diaries, you realize how obsessed she was with him and how she wanted him to come back. The
Right.
parents had divorced, and he was a famous pianist and composer. She used to be an opera singer, but she gave it up to become a mother. And when they divorced, and Anaïs, her brothers, and her mother moved to New York, they were previously in Paris, Brussels, and Barcelona.
Right.
Um, she missed her father terribly, and
Right.
she started to idealize him even more than
Right.
she did.
Right.
And that's actually how the diaries begin for her. She was writing letters to her father,
Father. Right.
and her mother wouldn't let her send the letters. So she collected the letters, and it slowly became a diary. She wouldn't even
Right.
bother writing them as letters. She just wrote in a little notebook. So her story is very much intricated with the love of men, even when it's unhealthy, even when
Right.
it's yeah, a bit hard and yeah, unhealthy. And so she never hates men, and even though she can get very frustrated, and that's something. that I'm actually sad for her about it. Not that she doesn't hate men, but that she had no idea, like we have today, about feminism and the fact that patriarchy is systemic, and that it was not her fault. It was not the fault
Right,
specifically of the men she met. All of that was just playing roles into a system, and
right.
she really doesn't seem to see that at all. She
I mean,
really,
she seems to see that the roles are arbitrary, but she
yes,
doesn't seem
yeah,
to realize that it's a,
or that it could be
a
changed somehow.
right,
I don't know. There's something
right,
very fatalistic about her
right,
regarding gender roles.
right,
And she also embraces them very much. Like she's very attached to the idea of femininity,
right,
masculinity, which is a point on which I disagree with her, but
right.
it was also the time where she lived. And she is particularly very attached to being perceived as very feminine, very pretty, very,
Well,
yeah,
and this is where we get into like one of my autistic hyperfixations is on language and the
yeah.
way it changes and the way it so like one of the things that I'll say out loud is like I don't know that we have more bisexual people now than we ever did. We just have a word for it. I don't know that we have more trans people now than we ever did. We just have a word for it.
Yeah.
Before there was a word, we had people who were deeply uncomfortable in their skin because they didn't have the skin that fit.
Yeah, yeah. Um,
Um,
100%.
so I mean, what I see a lot of, I mean, I haven't read a ton of her readings or her writings, but what I see a lot of in your portrayal is a person who is acutely aware of the ways that her skin doesn't fit,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and looks to make a skin that fits better, but
Yes.
without really a toolbox to work from. So she's got to do a lot of guess and check. She can't
Yeah.
go, oh, this person did that. I wonder if that's for me.
Yeah. 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 And I
You
guess that the
know,
people who did experiment with that kind of stuff were very secretive about it. It was
right,
so dangerous. I mean, it's still dangerous now. People still
right.
get
It's
killed,
it's
still get
still it's
hurt.
still frowned upon across the board. So
Yeah,
many, you know,
at the time, and
um,
I guess especially for women, there are so many cases
yeah,
of women who have spent their lives in mental institutes just because they once kissed a girl and were caught in the act and were
right,
declared crazy or hysterical and
right,
were yeah, locked for the rest of their lives. And there are
right.
so many archives about that. So yeah, she was right to lie and to be secretive about it. Yeah, it was a
Another thing,
survival strategy to be a
an,
liar.
another thing that I discovered, just in like some basic background reading, she wrote her diary in three languages.
Yeah.
She wrote according to the language that fit most what she was trying to convey, and that's another thing to me that indicates that like
Hmm.
it's so hard to find the right words that I'm gonna go to the language that's best at the words I'm looking for right
Yeah.
now.
And
Um,
how amazing it is to have three languages
to work with.
yeah, as in your toolbox. And what's
Yeah,
funny also is that she had an accent in every one of those three languages. She would not speak any of them perfectly. She
right,
always had a, so it's like she belonged to no country, to no
yeah,
language. She's always fluid, always in transition from a state to another.
right.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, Tell me about the process of putting the book together because you made some really cool decisions, both technical and storytelling wise, and also, I mean, you're taking, I assume, largely from her diaries. So like, how did you choose? portions, how much of the text were you taking directly versus
Mm.
rewriting? And then how, I mean, we'll definitely get to the magic pencils because
Yeah.
but
Yeah,
there's
but
also
first,
decisions like you
you're
have
right.
her mirror self
Yes, yes.
on a regular basis. You've got this recurring ship motif.
Hmm.
So yeah, just talk to me about the
Yeah, it
process
was
of the book.
honestly, it was a very long process because when I started thinking about making it into a book, it must have been around um, 2013, something like that. So yeah, it took me almost 10 years. I was obviously working on other projects
Right.
in the meantime, but I read everything that I could find from her and about her. And I got extremely frustrated and even more determined to make a comic books about her when I read biographies written by other people. I felt like they didn't get her at all. Most of those biographies have been written in the 90s, and they are so judgmental and so not aware neither of feminism or neurodiversity or trauma. They are
Right.
just blaming her in a very Judeo-Christian traditional way. She's the
Shocking.
villain.
Shocking to
She's
me that
the,
Judeo-Christian society would decide to just blame the woman for everything
yeah,
that happened to her.
for everything. And I mean,
I
it's
mean,
a joke. It's
I lived through the people who blamed Hillary for Bill's
yes,
infidelity.
yeah. I remember that too. I was young,
And
and
that was also one of the reasons that she couldn't possibly be as good of a president as Donald fucking Trump was
yeah,
because, well, look at her husband. I'm like, wait a minute. Because of her husband.
yeah. Oh no, let's just
What?
the rapist. No problem. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's always the same. So that got me even more determined to make this book. Then I had to select, as you said, I wasn't going to do a full biography of her because I think that in comic books form, it's my own unpopular opinion. Uh, comic books that attempt to tell the whole story of a person have to go too fast and they cannot
Right.
linger on feelings and emotions and
I mean, unless you get lucky, like there's a Josephine Baker biography in
yeah.
comic book form that's like 600 pages.
Oh, okay. Maybe
So, like,
I'm not thinking about the same one. Maybe
or maybe it's only 300 pages, but it's like
it's from
big.
French authors, black and
I think
white.
so. I think
So
so.
I know what you mean. And I'm not a fan of,
I I
yeah,
don't love it,
they
love
have
it.
a lot of maybe 4 or 5 books about women through history. They did
Right.
Olympe de Gouges, they did Kiki de Montparnasse. And yeah, I think they have to go too fast. And Anaïs Nin's work is so much about sensations and feelings and trying to capture things that crawl under your skin and capture the dream feeling or the fire feeling and things that I needed to be able to take
No, it
time.
is 568 pages. The one by
Okay, yeah,
Bouquet and
yeah, Cattell.
Cattell.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. It's the one I was thinking about. I have
I
to
mean,
admit, I didn't read the Josephine Baker one. I read the Kiki and the Olympe, and I was not that moved. I mean, I
right.
learned things, but I didn't feel a lot of things.
I wasn't completely disagreeing with you either. You know, because you're absolutely right with any biography, even if it's like I tend to like even in prose biographies when they focus harder
Mm.
on specific periods or specific events than
Yeah,
trying to cover everything because there's just too much to give it depth.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
So I
but
needed to make choices,
yeah,
and that was actually kind of the easiest part, because that moment when she meets Henry and June Miller, they really do act like a spark to everything she has been building up to. And there's the atmosphere of the late 20s, Paris, all that kind of romantic cliche of the artists of those golden years. So I knew that at the basic level of the pleasure of drawing, I was going to have a lot of fun drawing the costumes, the hair, yeah, the rooms they lived in. And I loved that moment because and during that time space of maybe 4 or 5 years, she goes through so much change. She really kind of, it's like a chrysalid. It's like she was a caterpillar, and at the end, she is a butterfly who maybe is not ready to take flight yet, but she really goes through a lot of changes and sometimes a lot of trauma. She kind of gets re-traumatized with the story with her father, and she has to work through a lot of a lot of the trauma that she experienced during her life. And so for me, that was giving me kind of a narrative arc
Yeah.
between that frustration and the fact that at the end of the book is the time when she has self-published her first novel, and she feels like she's gonna keep writing forever, and she has less doubts about her qualities, both as a human being and as a creator. So that was the choosing part, but
I
then
mean,
there was
it's,
the how to tell part, and that was very
yeah,
hard to at first, I guess I was trying to be too serious and to be too exact on the date, who was there, to be too academic. And I had to take certain liberties, like I erased or I didn't talk about certain people that were in her life at that time because they would have opened whole other storylines, and I didn't want to lose focus. So I stayed with a few very important persons in her life. And yeah, the double, that was the main thing for me, because when you read her, most of her days, she's just sitting in her room, either reading or writing, and that's really not interesting to draw. It's like someone having a monologue in her head. She has no interaction for most of her day. So I needed to find a way, basically, to to give something interesting visually to happen when she's writing, when she's talking to herself like that. And she actually gave me the answer very obviously. She talks about her diary, addressing it as my mirror, my double, my brother. So it was an easy idea to picture her kind of inner self. And I chose to represent the double with very big flowing hair. It was an easy way for me to represent that it's the self that is not constrained by societal expectations. I know that women's hair at that time were really, really, how do you say that? It was very
controlled.
strict. Yeah,
Yeah.
controlled. You cannot go out without a hat,
Right.
let alone with your hair down. So that double with her great big hair, very wild, was an easy metaphor for me. And visually, it reminded me of some of the paintings by Klimt or other people from
Love Klimt.
that era, which I love too. And I've
Yeah.
loved since I was a teenager. And there's something very, a bit cheesy, a bit teenagey about that. Allegories. And I love that. It came naturally to me. So I decided that it was the right thing to do. And yeah, you talked about the ship motif that comes, that's also very much in her writing. She's always referring to the sea, to boats or ships that she needs to take her away, or that she needs to learn to steer, and she doesn't know how. She's been living for a time on a peniche, a flatboat peniche on the Seine in Paris, and she keeps dreaming about boats, and I really loved that image too. And yeah, also the way that I chose to represent the more sensual or sexual parts of her story were very much inspired by the words she used. She uses a lot of vegetal and floral um, allegories to talk about desire and intimate parts. And yeah, I really love that. And it was, I thought it worked really well in having pages that are sensual and um, uh, yeah, pleasurable to look at, but not overly pornographic, because I didn't want the book to be under a blister and not a. I didn't
Right.
want to restrict too much the public.
Well, I think there's also many of the sexual scenes have a certain surrealism to them.
Mm-hmm.
Um, which I think brings out the feeling more than being titillating, which I
Yeah,
think was the point.
yeah,
And you did it in spades.
mm.
Um,
Yeah,
you
because
know,
for her, she's very much for her, sexuality is not just for pleasure, even though she has a lot of desire and she looks for pleasure, but she really also sees it as a way of expressing herself, of being
mhm,
communicating with her partner, and almost as sacred.
right,
She has a way of seeing it that's almost like a tantric sexuality, and she refers to the links between her sexuality and her creativity. And I don't think that she was aware of like the chakra system, where I'm not very much into it, but I found it funny that the root chakra is very much creativity as well as sexuality. And she clearly made that link, and she knew that one would feed the other, and
right,
that she needed to develop both of them. She could not just develop one. It had to be on parallel and intermingled tracks.
right. Um, mm, Talk to me, just because, like, I'm so glad that I made a point of getting to the panel where you sketched
Mm,
on camera, and I
that
got to
was
see
fun.
you working with your magic pencil and the way you would move across the page as the color changed. Is like, oh, it's blue now, so I'm going to move up to this corner. And
Yeah,
oh, it's yellow, so I'm over here now. And I was trying to imagine how your brain was working for that. But then you also mentioned that when you were working on Anaïs Nin, you had many pencils. So like if you were working on a blue area and you stopped being at blue on that pencil, you could switch to a different pencil that was at.
yeah,
But talk about the magic pencil and talk about how how it affected how you worked on this book, because I'm pretty certain it tapped into
yeah,
a different
absolutely.
part of creativity.
Yeah, it was a big struggle for me to find the right technique for this album, because as you mentioned earlier, I do love to switch my tools and switch my technique
Right.
depending on the book and the story I'm telling. For me, there really needs to be a connection between the, the visual, the visual atmosphere and the atmosphere of the book. And so I was really struggling to find. I tried my usual gray pencils, I tried charcoal, I tried gouache, and nothing was really satisfying me. And those pencils, so they have the three primary colors, so yellow, red, and blue.
I
And
actually bought a set for myself
yeah,
because
oh, you did.
oh yeah,
That's good.
I am not nearly the
Mhm.
artist, but they're in my backpack so that I can
Oh,
mess
that's
around
good.
with them.
Yeah. And so I had them and I would use them in festivals for book signings and stuff. And also for when I was
Which is
traveling to
why I am so,
sketch
so
fest.
sad that they sold out of Anaïs Nin at CXC
Yeah,
right
I'm so
before I could buy
sorry.
it.
I'm so sorry, but I'm sure we'll find a way
One
to.
day,
Yeah,
trust me, I will be like either the next time you're in the States or the first
yes.
time I
If
manage to
you come
leave the
to Europe,
country.
yes, yes, yes. Yeah, if you come to Europe, we can. Well,
That would
depending.
require a passport.
Yes.
I don't actually even have one. One day
Okay.
I should get one. So that's
You should.
step one.
Yes.
Step one, passport. Step two, money.
Yeah.
Step three, Europe. You know.
So yeah, the pencil. So yeah, I knew those pencils, but I had never tried to draw comic books with them. I was just using them to sketch or book sign. And it's actually my boyfriend, who's also working at the same studio as I am, who suggested to me that I tried them because I love them so much. He knows that they are kind of my favorite tool, but just to play with, I never imagined working with. And so I tried, and it was perfect. And it was so clear to me that this was the technique I needed. And so I contacted my publisher. I work with a Casterman, but with specifically a very, very fine editor. She's
Right.
named Natalie, and we live in the same city, so we can see each other and work for real. And that changes everything. And I showed her the 3 or 4 pages that I had tried as a test, and she was so happy. And I saw on her face that, yes, that was the right thing to do. What I really love about it for Anaïs is that since the color is always changing, it mirrors so much her own way of existing, where she's always having two thoughts or seven thoughts at the same time. She's always being dragged in several directions at the same time, and she's so yeah multifaceted. And the pencil
Right.
is exactly like that. So for me, it was the perfect tool. And also, it allows me to not have to do any coloring because the line themselves are full of colors. And so it allows a lot of, it's less heavy. There's a lot of white. You see the white of the paper a lot. And so it breathes and you can imagine the rest. And yeah, it's very much aerial. And I love that.
And it also makes the darkness that much
Yes.
more jarring.
When
What, you
darkness
know, it's
comes. Yes.
it's very meaningful
Mhm.
anytime you've got, yeah, no, I could keep talking about this book forever, and I'm certain that I will, it's on my short list of books to find somebody to book club with me so that we
Yeah.
can talk about it. That's one of my favorite parts about this podcast. We have, I think we've got 10 active book clubs going right now.
Oh, that's amazing.
Or we just have a mixture of creators or just friends like that come and we'll talk about Love and Rockets or we'll talk about Heavy Metal Magazine or we'll talk about
Yeah.
you
Oh,
name it.
tomorrow night is a big event in Brussels about heavy metal.
Yeah.
There's a huge show opening tomorrow, and I think there are going to be some originals from Mobius.
Oh.
So yeah, so I'm going there
Oh.
with the friend. The friend who arrives later has
Well,
some work that is being shown
yeah,
tomorrow
t
too.
take some pictures and send them to me.
Yes, I will. I will. Sure.
Um, I've been so happy that in fact my issue 3 is supposed to be delivered today. Metal Hurlant has been
Mhm.
republishing in the
Yeah, yeah,
United
yeah.
States.
I know. It's
And that's
great.
made me very, very happy.
Yeah, yeah, it's amazing.
Um, so, uh, but I do want to talk a little bit about Great Turkey Walk before you
Yeah,
have to go,
yeah, I love it too.
and touch some on your untranslated works. And we've
Mhm.
got about 20 minutes, so we should
Yeah,
do that if we're
we
going to do
can,
that.
yeah, we can take 30 if needs. We,
Yeah,
yeah.
I understand. I like to respect boundaries.
Thank you. See, I'm not so good at respecting my own boundaries.
Well, and like that's where I try to be the friend that will at least remind me of
Yes.
your own boundaries. If you then choose to
What?
go over them anyway, I'm not going to be the friend that says no, you're not allowed to. But
No, it's good.
um and I hope I didn't cross a boundary by saying I'm a friend. I hope I'm a
No,
friend.
no, no. You are.
I feel like we connected at that level.
Yes.
Um so yeah, tell me about Great Turkey Walk. Cause
So,
like it, in some ways it couldn't be further from
yeah.
Anaïs Nin, and in other ways it has a lot of similarities in
Really?
terms of the characters and the journeys they're on.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I see what.
So,
Yeah.
you know, I can see. I mean, you have that there are four main characters in Great Turkey Walk. You've got, and I'm so terrible at remembering names. You've got Simon,
Simon,
and you've got Mr.
Mr.
Peace,
Yes.
and then
Joe.
you've got Joe, and then you've got Lizzie, and
Yeah.
they're all finding who they are
Yes.
after
Yes.
different traumas, after different, but they're
Yeah.
all as Anais is, they're all at that point in their life where,
The life is not fitting anymore. Yeah.
right, and they're
Mhm.
deciding what does fit.
Yeah. Yeah.
And many of them are younger, so they could have other points like that again, but
Yes.
there is definitely that Simon has this teacher who he loves,
Yeah.
who he's just not that good at school. Say, hey, it's time for you to go find yourself. You're graduated now at what,
Mhm.
12?
Yeah. Yeah.
Which dates about when this book is. This is more of
Absolutely.
a settling the West era book.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, you know, Mr. Peace lost his family and fell into a bottle. You know, Joe, if you really read between the lines, lost her family probably because they were sold separately.
Yeah.
Be, because she says, I don't know if my mom's alive, but she's also an orphan. And it's like, so like if you're reading between the lines, that's like so heavy. Like,
Yeah.
are you
Yeah.
going to freedom or are you going to find mom? Are you And then like we
In
find Lizzie
first,
right after she's buried her family.
yeah. First story is terrible too.
Although, I mean, first of all, I love the character of Simon because he manages to keep his superpower
Mm.
is keeping a mostly positive attitude
Yes. Yes. He's
in
so
spite
good
of
at
all of
that.
this. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, and they talk about everybody has the thing they're good at, and what he's really good at is we decided we're doing this thing. We're gonna do this thing. It's why when he kind of falls for Lizzie and doesn't know how to handle that and becomes all morose, and here I am spoiling the book for readers. It's painful because it's like, no, Simon, you're the
Yeah.
one that just
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
so
The book is so sweet. I had the proposition from the publisher to read this book by Kathleen Carr and to see if I was interested in adapting it. And I've always dreamt of drawing a Western genre
okay,
book. It's really something that I enjoy as a reader, as a moviegoer,
okay.
but there's so much problematic attitude
There
in
are.
classic Western. I cannot, I'm not okay with that. And this
Well,
book
but
was so
here's
sweet.
the one of the things that I've noticed about European Western comics or European comics set in the 20s or whatnot is they seem much more capable of saying the quiet part out loud because they don't have the, oh, but America's always been great, so we can't talk about
Yeah,
when they weren't.
yeah, that's for sure. I think we all here in Europe grew up with American movies, American
Right.
music, and really a fascination for
Mhm.
America. But also, maybe we are more critical and we see,
You're not criticizing your heritage, you're
yeah,
criticizing your media, and that's I
yes,
think a different I
yeah,
mean, there are those of us in America that are quite comfortable criticizing our heritage, but I think it's
sure.
always harder to criticize something that you feel like is a part of you rather than something that
It's external,
is
and we
something
can
that's
judge,
external and you're
and we love
enjoying.
judge
Right.
America. And when like you're always like 6 months or a year ahead of us. Like a year ago, the US had banned a young English comic books writer. She came over there
Oh yeah.
for a festival and she was banned. And we were like,
Well,
ah,
yeah,
the US.
she got
Yeah.
caught in customs in
Yes.
Washington
Yeah.
because she'd actually been backpacking across the country, and so she'd spent
Yeah.
all this time in America, but then she went into Canada, and when she
Oh
tried to
yeah.
come
Right.
back,
Yeah.
and they
She
couldn't even
was
just send
detained.
her home. That pissed me
Oh,
off so much. I mean, like
yeah.
bad enough that they didn't let her come back.
Yeah, but they detained her.
But the detaining her rather than just putting on her on a plane home is the part that like I'm like, what?
But then, so we laughed at the USA for being such, yeah. But then last week, a young Italian,
French or
no, no,
Italian? Yeah,
an Italian
Italian. Yeah,
comic artist who was coming to France for a festival, got arrested at the airport and could not step out of the airport and was
right,
sent back because her
right,
art is too disturbing to
right,
French politics and French state. So
right.
yeah, well, we are turning, every country in Europe is turning fascist too. So we love to judge the
I
USA
mean, th
because,
thankfully, way slower and with way more electoral resistance.
yeah, but like we've been here
But
on
yes,
strike for 3 days to protest our current government,
right,
which is taking stupid decision after stupid decision and is
right.
ruining everything. And yeah, it's out of control. So I think we have this relationship with the USA where we love to judge it, uh, knowing it's like the last time we can laugh about it because in 6 months, this is going to happen here too.
And well, I mean, this is the problem with it being driven by big money. Big money
Yeah.
doesn't actually have borders.
No, no, no. Yeah.
Um,
So what I loved
but
about
yeah,
this
great
book
turkey walk.
in particular is that it utilizes every cliche of the Western genre, but turns it on its head
Yeah,
because it's seen by children and with the common sense and innocence of children, they will
right.
ask, "But why? That's so unfair!" And then they will decide to do something different. Like
Well, and
I'm gonna
that's where I was
spoil the book
not
too, but
surprised when I discovered that the book itself isn't that old. It's like late
oh
90s.
yeah, yeah,
It's like, okay, now I understand how they could get away with writing a beloved children's book
yes,
that
that it's
that like examines that stuff.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Just on a very light note, like not incriminating for a whole nation, but the simple fact that very, very early in the story, Simon understands that he's not going to be able to do everything himself.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's very much one of the Western genre trope is that every man for himself.
Hmm.
And Simon is the
Rugged
opposite.
individualism,
Yeah, yeah. And Simon
which,
gets very early that no, he's gonna need a teammate. He's gonna need maybe more people than that, but for
right,
starters, at least one partner.
right.
And and he chooses the the one who needs help, but who has very much he has a lot of skills.
Right.
But as you said, Mr. Peace had he's been mourning, and he has become addicted to alcohol, and so he's a joke for everyone. Nobody trusts him anymore, and Simon decides to trust him. He gives him kind of a rehab, farmstead rehab, a little bit violent. He's
Yeah.
not very
Yeah.
uh,
The rehab of the
confident
trail.
in form, but it's okay, I guess. Yeah,
I mean, it was what was available at the time.
yeah, yeah. Cold turkey. Yeah.
Yeah. No pun intended with the
No.
Great Turkey Walk.
So yeah, I guess one of the things that I loved, apart from the pleasure I had to draw these characters who are all very cute, and I had the pleasure of being able to go a little bit farther in the exaggerating the expressions, making something that's a little more like a children's book, like cartoons on TV, compared to my other works where it was a little more serious. And the pleasure of drawing all the magnificent landscapes of the many states they cross. Um,
Well, I mean, magnificent until you've been walking through the same landscape for
for days and weeks, I guess.
this just pops in my head. There's this like crazy Iron Man
Yeah.
bicycle race that goes from Venice Beach, California to Coney Island in New York. So it's like
Oh, wow.
all the way across the United States. And
Yeah.
the people who have done the race multiple times to a man say nothing is harder than driving or riding through those plain states where
Oh, yeah.
it's the same.
Nothing.
All you see is corn and
Yeah.
soybeans and corn and soybean. Like
Yeah.
they're like riding up the Rockies, not nearly as hard as
Yeah.
coming down and having like 4 days that look the
Like that.
same.
Yeah. I
You
can.
know, they say the biggest challenge of the race is not going crazy during that stretch.
Wow. Yeah. I'm not
Yeah.
surprised. Yeah. Mm.
But I mean, it's really beautiful when you just get to look at
Yeah.
it once.
A pretty picture. Choose the
Also,
most special
my
point of view.
right, my wife is from South Dakota, so she
Yeah.
lives right in the middle of, you know, so it's like, yeah, it's really beautiful until you spend 6 hours and 6 hours driving and it all looks the same.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the only countryside state I've been in. I've
Yeah.
been to interior South Dakota and to Wool, and I actually took a horse ride in the Badlands, and it's one of the
Okay.
best memories in my life.
Absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely beautiful.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not actually trying to trash it as much as
No,
like
no, it's
there's
just
a difference
yeah,
between how beautiful it is when you're visiting and being able to just
yes,
spend time and enjoy it, and
yeah.
when you're trying to get through it
I
and there's no sense of movement.
know, I know. We drove from Chicago to what was the name? Hill City, maybe one that's
Okay.
close to the famous faces in the
Right.
mountain.
Right. Right. So
It
I
was
know
like
most of that
a few
drive.
days ride.
Right.
Yeah,
So
that's
once you
always the
got
thing.
once you got to like into Wisconsin, it became
Yeah, just
very,
fields after
very
fields.
repetitive through most of Wisconsin, because that's the
Yeah,
southern part of Minnesota, so it's more
until you
plains
get
and
to
less
the hills.
lakes.
Yeah.
Right. Until I mean, even once you cross into South Dakota at that point, you're like 9 hours away from the Black Hills. I mean, my wife always, because she lives on her family's from the Sioux Falls area, which is
Yeah.
just over the Minnesota border. So
Yeah.
like you'll tell people she's from South Dakota and they'll immediately bring out up Mount Rushmore. And she's like, yeah, I
Yeah.
lived like 9 hours from that.
Yeah. Yeah. Something else. We are not used to that kind of
Right.
speed right here. I mean, you can
Um,
cross Belgium in 2 hours. So. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm told that like I mean, uh, uh, this is gonna make me out as the hopeless romantic that I can sometimes be, but my favorite movies that are set in Europe are
Yeah.
the Before Sunrise, Before
Oh yeah,
Midnight,
I love them so much. Yeah.
After. Yeah, I
They're really
adore those movies. But also they make me go, oh, wait, you can get one like train pass and just hop all over the place. That sounds so much fun. And like, why didn't I do that in my 20s? And then I remembered, oh yeah, I had children in my 20s.
Oh, you did? I didn't know that.
Yeah. That's why
Oh,
I
yeah.
didn't do it
That's
in
a
my
good reason.
20s. I have grandchildren now. Yeah.
Wow. Oh,
Yeah, yeah,
wow.
yeah. My
Good.
son took after me with the whole young
Yeah.
parenthood thing.
Okay.
But then I go, but I could do it in my 40s because I have grandchildren now.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and that means that like so maybe one day
Yeah. For
I'll,
the
I'll
train
choose
pass,
I'll
not
choose
as
like
it used
like
to be, but
con season and just get the Euro pass. And
yes, you should. You should.
I mean, like I had somebody telling me that like I need to incorporate the podcast because then I can write off going to
Mm,
cons as business expenses. And I'm like, but don't you have to make money to be able to have a business expense? So I need to
I don't
talk to
know.
like the specific, the people who know our tax codes better.
Yeah.
Um, so I mean, again, we're getting shorter on time. I wanna
We
I
keep
wanna
it.
talk a little bit about Hoodoo Darlin', but in in two senses. First, at least among the ones that I came across, it's one of the longer works that you didn't adapt from anything else.
Yes.
So like the Fallback, I don't how do we pronounce that?
Scalpel.
Fallback
Scalpel. Mm,
Fallback trilogy is adapted from novels. Great
yes.
Turkey Walk is adapted from a children's book. Anaïs Nin is less adapted, but it's taken from her diaries, and
Yeah. I didn't
so
invent the story.
so most of my question is talk about the difference between writing your own stories and
Yeah. For me, it's very,
adapting from other work.
yeah. I don't work solo or not adapting that often because I find it extremely difficult. I'm much more comfortable with the like in French we call that mise en scène. It's like in directing something, like someone has written the story for you, but now you get to imagine how you're gonna tell it. I'm
Okay.
so much more comfortable with the how than with the story itself. And
Okay.
I always have um, feelings that I want to explore, or themes, or images that are stuck in my head. And I want to imagine a story that would go around that image, or that theme, or that feeling. But I really do struggle to find the right characters, to find the right storylines. I It's like when everything is possible, I really struggle to make choices and I doubt myself constantly. So
Okay.
that's why for so far I've only really written one book myself. Well, there are two. There was one before Hoodoo Darling that was called Princess Suplex. It was
Okay.
about
Which I've seen a lot of the art. I do.
Muslim girl. Yeah.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah,
Would
I like it too, but it was more like a short story, really
Right.
short,
Right.
read in like 5, 6 minutes. It was like a song. It had the energy of a rock song.
It
So
does. That's a good
yeah,
way of putting it.
that's how I tried to imagine it, with really like
I mean, I would love to
build
see
up in
that.
a
And
climax. Yeah,
yeah, no, I would love to see that wind up in an English language anthology just because it needs.
yeah, that would be nice. It doesn't even exist in French anymore. It only exists in Italian.
Right.
The publisher that originally made it has gone bankrupt and doesn't exist anymore. So yeah,
Does
I would
that
love
mean that you
to
own the
see.
rights?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
If you know the mentality, I would be interested in, and I can do the translation and work on it with some really English-speaking people to help
Okay.
me. That would be amazing. I would
Well,
love to
I
translate
do
it.
actually. I've got to know some publishers, so like
Really?
I'll throw that in the back of my head.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, because
I,
I'm the podcast that wants to talk to everybody. Like there are lots
yeah.
of comics, and this is why not enough people listen to me because I'm told that like the way to have a popular podcast is to be laser focused on something that everybody
Ah,
will. Oh, this is the podcast I want to listen to when I want to know about blank.
okay. Okay.
And for me, like my laser focus is on all of comics.
Okay. Yeah. 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 But
I
that's
haven't
good.
found a mangaka to talk to yet, but I want to. I've had letterers on the show. I've had
Yeah.
colorists on the
Oh,
show.
that's
I've had
amazing.
eagers on the show. I've had editors on the show. I've had
Great.
publishers on the show,
I think that's great. Not just
because
focus on
it's
the
like the
author.
whole thing that I care
Yeah.
about.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm putting together panel proposals for the big Chicago convention, and like I'm hoping to have one where I have, I've talked to a couple of my publisher friends. I don't know him yet, but a friend of a friend is in distribution, and I
Mm.
know some comic shop owners, and I'd love to have like that discussion between like the comic shop owners and the publishers and the distributors about like we all love how comics get made, and I've got panel proposals that are about that too, but
Yeah.
like how do they get to you?
Yeah. That's
What is
super
the
interesting.
struggle to put
We
them
don't know
into
it.
your hands?
Yeah. Yeah. I would be very interested to learn more about that. It's very mysterious.
I mean, it is, but people are getting better at it,
Mhm.
and there are different routes in the United States. I mean, there are
Yeah.
people who are doing quite well, like exclusively crowdfunding their comics.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
They
Yeah.
get it all paid for in
Um,
advance.
yeah.
I mean, there are also people who fail miserably. They get it all paid for in advance and they don't deliver.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a really good way to destroy your reputation. But if you get it all paid for in advance and then you deliver, then people will do that with you again.
True.
Um, but yeah, no, it sounds like you need your Ed Brubaker. I like it in the United States, and I don't know how many U.S. comics you read, but Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips have been working together for God, 25 years. I don't
Okay.
think Sean Phillips does anything without Ed Brubaker anymore.
Okay.
Right? Writers writers have a little more extra time, so
Yeah.
Ed will still occasionally write for other people. But
Okay.
like Brubaker Phillips has been a team through Criminal. They've got a series called Criminal that's all crime stories. They've got another
Yeah.
centered around a character named Reckless that's also crime stories, but it's kind of different. Um, they've done a handful of just graphic novel, like one of their most poignant like single graphic novels is a story called Pulp that wound up being about like a dime novelist who'd once been an outlaw,
Hmm.
but now he's like writing dime novels in like 40s New York,
Okay.
and winds up being involved in taking down like or robbing from the American Bund, right before their big.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But all of that came out of, Ed was like, Sean's done what I want to do forever. So he asked him, what do you want to do for a next thing? And
Mm.
Sean's like, I've always wanted to draw a Western. And Ed's like, this is the best I could manage to do. He gets to do the Western flashbacks.
Um,
But yeah,
Great.
no, I
Yeah.
mean, they've
I
just been a
haven't
combo
yet
forever.
found my my
That
partner for
person
that.
you click with where,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
that
But
that
see,
sounds like what you're in
I'm
need
right
of.
now working. My new project is I'm working with my boyfriend, who
Okay.
has so many great ideas, and he doesn't have the time to draw them all
I mean,
himself.
that's how Elsa Chartier
Yeah.
started out, and then and she still does work with Pyrrhic, but I think he was too slow, so she wound up
Yeah,
working with all
she
of the
tells
top
me, yeah.
writers in America. She cold called them all. She's like,
No,
"Hey,
that,
Matt Fraction, I want to do a book with you. Hey, Tom King, I want to do a book with you."
yeah. I would
So,
love to have so many ideas, but it's not the way my brain works. My brain
yeah.
works by fixating for years on one topic and getting completely immersed in it.
Well,
So right now we are making a graphic novel about. Do you know the history TV show Alone, where people have to
um,
survive alone in the woods?
I
They
don't
don't
think
have
I
a
do.
camera crew. It's not like Naked and Afraid. They are really alone.
No, no, no.
They have to film
I'm looking this up
themselves.
here.
It's amazing. And
Okay.
Nicola is my boyfriend, and I are obsessed with this show.
Okay.
And so we decided to make kind of a homage to it
Okay.
by inventing. We keep basically the same rules with a little twist here and there, but it's all French-speaking people. So from Quebec, from France, Belgium, Switzerland, Morocco, Congo. What else do we have? And it's gonna be set in Lapland, and through them we explore relationships between humans and nature, between
Oh, very
humans and
cool.
their cameras, the screens, how you um, put yourself on screen, how do you
Yeah.
um, picture yourself, and how do you react when confronted to the harsh reality.
I mean,
Uh,
because that's always the first problem with the
yeah,
reality TV
yeah,
show is like it's no longer reality once they know
no,
they're being filmed.
yeah.
And for that matter, as much as I get why people like survival shows, one of the reasons I've never gotten into them is like I sometimes in my youth occasionally did that type of camping, but like
Yeah.
I did that type of camping and I'm sitting there going, is it really Survivor? If there's a camera crew there, they're not
Mhm.
gonna let you die.
No, exactly. But in this
The
one, it's
show would
not.
be over.
And since we're not really doing a TV show and there are no real humans involved, we can go further
You
than
can
that.
go, oh yeah,
So,
no, no,
yeah.
absolutely. Yeah,
So
no,
it's gonna be a lot of fun.
you've got
Yeah.
me hook, line, and sinker already. I can't wait to see this.
Great. It's
Um,
gonna take a while because I'm drawing it with watercolors, and I'm not used to
oh,
that. So it's a new
look at
adventure.
you
Yeah.
choosing another new medium.
Yes.
This is your thing.
Yes.
And I love it. I mean, that's the other thing. I mean, I mentioned briefly, like
Yeah. And then
I've read a
five
lot of your
minutes,
work at this
I will
point. Yeah, I've got one question to ask after I make my
sure.
point. Is that like the only artist that I know in the US that I think is as diversified in the way they work and like you can look at three books from him and not realize it's all the same artist the way I at this point I know your style. I've spent a lot of time
Yeah.
looking at
Yeah.
it, but
Mm.
I could totally hand three books of yours to somebody separate times and not have
Yes.
them immediately go, "Oh, this is all only Alex Cormack comes to mind in the United States that I feel that way about. And even so, I've started to notice that like he's got a certain horror style and he's got a
Yeah.
certain act, so like the more of his
Depending
stuff
on
I
the mood.
read, the more I'm like, well, I can peg that this book goes with that book and this book goes with that book.
Yes.
Um, but this is the question that I ask everybody. I'm looking forward to asking it to you because it's such a fun question. Tell me something you love, preferably a comic, but we don't have rules. Preferably storytelling, but again with the rules. But something that you love that not enough people around you have also experienced, and you need them to so that you have more people to talk about it with.
Hmm. Oh, that's such a good question. Oh yeah, I know. It's it's a band, but they also have a life had, I would say, a lifestyle, and they made self-made movies about themselves,
Okay.
and they are called Rock Bitch, and they
Rock bitch.
yeah, and they are witches originally from England, and sometimes in the 90s they moved to France looking for more freedom of um,
Oh, all one
mind.
word
And
too. Okay.
oh yeah, maybe. And so they rented an old convent, an old monastery, and they
Oh,
held
wow.
Sabbath there, and they had very explicit shows where they would throw a golden condom in the crowd and go have sex with the one, women or men who would pick it. And there's a movie called This Is Rock Bitch that you only find on very not recommendable sites.
Okay.
But it's a documentary, but they filmed it themselves and it contains very explicit scenes. So it's very hard to find in good
Well,
quality.
this is sad as I look at their homepage.
Yeah,
There is
the
an official
homepage.
Rock Bitch Archives website, but it
Yes.
does have on it before you ask, no, Rock Bitch will not be reforming and playing
No, I
live.
know. No, no.
Although
I
as
mean,
time goes by, there will be a
active in
long-awaited
the 90s.
second album and new DVD.
And I think that now they live in a farm, very secluded, somewhere in Scotland, if I
Okay.
at least a big group of them, and they would live as a polyamorous group in a kind of
Okay.
community. And I'm
Right.
absolutely fascinated by them, and nobody knows them. I don't even remember
No.
how I found out about them, but yeah, they made a whole storytelling about their lives, and
Right.
they created characters to bring a new form of femininity in rock and roll. They're a bit old school, but I really love them. Yeah,
Yeah, no, I am all over this. This will definitely be something I am exploring this weekend.
good. I hope you
Uh,
enjoy it.
I'm certain that I will. Leonie, it has been a blast.
Yeah,
Hopefully we can get slightly better at emailing back and forth. And you're
yes,
welcome
yeah.
back anytime you want to talk about
Thank you.
anything at all. We'll make it work.
That's
Just because
amazing.
it's so much fun to talk.
It
Um,
was great. I had a great time.
so for 22 panels, this has been Leonie Bischoff, and we will see you after the next page.